Ah, ye old SJWs, notorious for complaining about things that the vast majority of people did not have a problem with. Sticking their hands in everything, complaining about Catwoman's butt, the lack of fat characters, or social things like manspreading or not being able to wear spaghetti straps in school. You know, such a tragedy. But a lot of that stuff seems to have died down, and I don't think they're largely the ones that are complaining about stupid shit anymore. It really seems like it has shifted to the right. A lot of conservatives are complaining about Black Ariel, the Little Mermaid, Buzz Lightyear, and the lesbian kiss. Remember the whole Mr. Potato Head thing? Complaining about the Dr. Seuss books that were being taken away and they were freaking out and buying them when they were adults reading Dr. Seuss. And we can't forget about Lizzo and James Madison's flute. You know, that flute that nobody knew existed until Lizzo played it. It seems like right now the pendulum has shifted and they're the ones complaining about a bunch of dumb shit that people just don't care about largely on average. And so that begs the question, has my politics changed, you know, with me criticizing people on the right more? Have I become woke? Have I become an SJW, a progressive ideologue? I don't think so, but that's what this video is for. I'm going to examine it largely for cathartic purposes because, I don't know, I just thought it would be a little fun exercise. And just stick with me and I'll try to get through this video as quick as possible because I really could talk about this subject for like an hour, but I don't know. Less than 20 minutes is going to have to suffice. But before we get into this video, I got to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, and that is INTOTHEAM. INTOTHEAM is a company that makes high quality apparel, and you guys have probably seen me wear a lot of their shirts in a few of my videos. Their graphics are second to none. I just picked up a couple of shirts that they have in the new arrivals, the Cyber Cafe. This is just perfect for me. I absolutely love the colors. I'm a huge fan of purple. I mean, come on, this is the absolute best. And World Domination. Need I say any more? This is just dope. The quality is absolutely fantastic. Premium shirts, premium material. They fit you like a glove. They're sincerely the most comfortable shirts that I own. And listen, they have a bundle where you can get 3 shirts for only $60. Think about that. Where can you get a deal like this with the quality of the shirts, the quality of the graphics? You're just not gonna find a deal like that. And guess what? If you go to intotheam.com/SBG, you can get 10% off of your entire order. So click the link in the description and hook yourselves up, guys. I'm serious, every time I go out, I get complimented about these shirts. They're dope tees, man, like no joke. Thank you INTOTHEAM for sponsoring this video. Love y'all. Go get one.
Supreme victory!
So I felt inspired to make this video because I recently saw a video from TJ Kirk, the Amazing Atheist, where he essentially was going through the same thing, and then he felt like addressing it. And he was a little more thorough with it because he also used old clips of himself to show that he is largely the same person and has the same ideals. You know, he's still just against religion, against bigotry, against, you know, like the whole trans panic that's going on right now. And he was just showing, like, I've been slapping this stuff down for over a decade. And I thought it was a pretty cool video. I thought it was really nice to kind of just show those people who are interested or the people that are accusing him of becoming woke or whatever. And so I've had some of the same things happen to me. And why? There's a few reasons, but largely because there was a lot of people who assumed I was, or I am, a conservative, and that's largely because of tribalism, and I'll get into that a little bit more later, but I first want to focus on what was the purpose of my channel. The main channel, Some Black Guy, what was the purpose for this in the first place? So I've told this before multiple times that I first started the channel because I was just wanted to stream games. I saw some of the largest creators like Markiplier, KSI, PewDiePie, pretty much just streaming games and just reacting in a stupid way. And I thought I could do that, but probably even better. I just thought, like, I could kill this, man. So when I set my channel up in 2014, I was just seeing that there was a weird thing happening in the gaming industry, you know, and that happened to be Gamergate, all of that whole stuff, which has so much stuff surrounding it. I don't need to talk about it, but I'm just saying that was a catalyst for me to talk about things that just are annoying me. And this isn't my first rodeo of doing this. I actually had a channel before where I largely felt compelled to make content because of the wave of theocracy and a lot of religious content on YouTube, spoken word stuff and everything. And that's where it was the rise of the atheism movement, like Thunderfoot, The Amazing Atheist, Dark Matter 2525, and what have you, right? And I felt like I want to join this conversation, make some secular arguments. And then there was other things that annoyed me too, and that have always annoyed me, like the military-industrial complex. So I'll pretty much make anti-military industrial complex and secularist content. This was back around 2010. Then I largely kind of got tired of it, and I'm like, whatever. So I came back in 2014 and started making content of things that were annoying me, like, say, people's politics, like we called them the SJWs, but I would properly call them progressive ideologues, because they are progressive, and I know a lot of progressive people. I'm from California, but then there's these ideologues, these zealots that are just trying to take things too far. Maybe some of their minds were in the right place, but they were going about it in the wrong way. So when it came to video games, for example, didn't really see an issue with gaming. Just trying to enjoy some games. All of a sudden, these politics were being interjected into every gaming news outlet, every podcast, these platforms. They started hiring their progressive buddies and doing all these weird things, which gave rise to just charlatans and people like Anita Sarkeesian, Brianna Wu, Zoe Quinn, John McIntosh, just so on and so forth. There were so many of these people that kind of sprung up on YouTube and started making all this content, and it was just nonsense. It was so stupid. It was one of those things like, what are we doing here? So I felt compelled to trash that stuff. And so along the same lines, I started dipping myself further into politics and social, things that were happening around that time. Like, obviously, the police brutality and excessive force has always been a big issue. It's something that I've always had a huge problem with. And so when we started talking about black people being killed by the police, and then movements like Black Lives Matter sprung up, and what was happening to the movements, I felt compelled to say something as well. I thought the way that it was, the direction that it was going in, and the leadership, I thought it was a bunch of BS. Not the message, because I've explained this before, that the message, it makes sense. I mean, I've seen too much police brutality. I've seen way too much. I think we've all seen that stuff. We've all seen that it's a huge problem. So I didn't have no problem getting behind that. I used to even be a part of an organization. I don't think it exists anymore, but it was called Cop Block. It was basically surveilling these motherfuckers to, not let them get away with so much stuff, right? So that was never a problem for me. It was just like anything else, like the Occupy Wall Street, the Tea Party, all this stuff. You would see like people taking advantage of people who actually tried to mean well, and then it turned into like a cesspool of stuff. But largely, that stuff has died down, and a lot of my gripes have died down. Same with this whole spear, because remember, guys, the content that was coming out on YouTube and all these outlets. Remember, BuzzFeed, Vice was getting crazy, MTV News. Remember, manspreading, the New Year's resolutions for white people. Remember all these stupid videos that were popping up. Is that still happening? No, it isn't. It isn't happening anymore. So largely that stuff went away. It died out. And it's like cool, because that's what I've always wanted. I've said multiple times that, all right, I would love for this to go away and then I can focus on other things. And largely, that's what's happening. The shift that you're seeing, if you're thinking there's a shift at all, it's not a shift in my ideals. It's just a shift in the people that are being the craziest. Like, it was all these progressive ideologues that were just overstepping their bounds, right? And then when the rise of the anti-SJW movement and things like that came up in prominence, it also gave a rise to right-winged and conservative content. Now, if you look at, say, who are the most popular political pundits on YouTube and whatnot, they're conservatives. Or they may claim to be on the left, but they're only spewing conservative talking points because it is the most popular. And I've always said that it's a pendulum. Because if you guys remember, maybe some of you weren't really alive or you were babies, but in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, there was that whole, oh, we got to ban video games again. And it happened 2 decades before that as well. Like the Christian right was rising up and trying to get everything banned, and how they got the parental advisory on the music that you listen to. There's these things, and it's a pendulum, and it's a problem with these zealots on the left and the right. But here's the biggest difference. The zealots on the right are much more dangerous, because at least the ones on the left were just pesky flies. They were just annoying. The ones that really had any dangerous rhetoric didn't get anywhere. Nothing happened with them. Like when you hear about like, oh, advocating for violence against, oh, we got to fight fascism, and the way you got to fight fascism is by being violent or something. There's rhetoric spewing out like that. That was happening. And it was like, yo, that's not cool. Violence begets violence. We all know this, or at least we all should know this. They didn't get taken seriously. But you have some of the biggest conservative leaders right now making content and whatnot that are saying very hateful things that are getting people, marginalized people, hurt. It's getting people in the LGBTQ community hurt. You have preachers in churches right now, probably as I'm speaking, preparing their sermons, saying really hateful and bigoted stuff, and saying it to hundreds of people, and they're just soaking it in. And it's all being filmed, and nobody's checking it. I wouldn't say nobody. There are people checking it, but largely there isn't a movement checking these people. There isn't movements checking people like Matt Walsh saying that transgender or gender ideology is one of the greatest evils in the world. What does that say to his audience? Or say what has happened with Kanye recently? I don't need to say anything about that, but you see, where does the anti-Semitic rhetoric come from? It comes from the extreme right. So the extreme right loved his talking points, to the point where they came out and agreed with him, put posters, and did salutes. I mean, you see this happening in real time. And this, to me, is much more important to talk about than the old anti-SJW stuff of the past. Because largely, like I've said, it's died down. All of those big videos and outlets and all that stuff, the giant protest with all of the pink haired and red hair and all that stuff, where is that stuff? When you saw that girl in the inauguration, when Trump got inaugurated and she was screaming and stuff, they keep reusing that same thing because they don't have any new content. That stuff is a relic now. Things have shifted, and I'm just shifting to talk trash about the things that are annoying me the most right now. And so now in the beginning of the video, okay. So in the beginning of the video, I talked about the reason why people even think that I'm a conservative now, at the beginning of the video, I said the reason why people would think I'm a conservative or anything like that, it was because of tribalism. And I just kind of want to explain that a little bit, because everybody knows what tribalism is, but there's different forms of it. So like really quick, when it comes to sports, right? When you talk about sports, there's tribalism in sports, and your favorite sports team, you're going to rep for them. But one thing that's really important, you can also criticize them. You can criticize your team. If they're doing bad, you want to trash them because you want to hold them to a higher standard. You want them to win. And the thing is, you don't want them to win at any means necessary at all costs. You want them to win with dignity. That's how people largely hold their sports teams and sports organizations. Now, when it comes to tribalism within politics, it's different, because obviously people want to win. They're going to rep for their side. You know, America right now, it's just left and right, you know, liberal and conservative, pretty much. That's mostly it. But the difference between the sports tribalism and the political tribalism is that largely, overall, people don't criticize their own side. They kind of just rock with them no matter what. Just let it fly. And the most important thing is winning. Winning at all cost. Like there are conservative talk mouthpieces out there that are trying to just put anybody in. Dr. Oz, Herschel Walker, people that have no business being in Congress, right? And then they get in because winning is so important. Having control of the Senate is so important.
How many times have I said 4 very important words? These 4 words. Winning is a virtue. And please keep in mind that I am concerned about one thing and one thing only at this point. So I don't care if Herschel Walker paid to abort endangered baby eagles. I want control of the Senate.
You would compromise everything that you supposedly stand for just to win, and that happens so often, even on the lowest levels on YouTube, for example. There are obvious things that are backed up by science, that are backed up by facts, that are backed up by logic and reasoning, that are backed up by Occam's razor, that people are just plugging their ears at. And that's been a lot of my content recently. I've been telling you the truth, and people don't want to hear it, and they're just like, oh man, you've gone woke now. Like me talking about scientific and obvious things, like something like surgeons have worn masks for hundreds of years. Why have they done that? To protect themselves and also to protect their patients. Like this is just an example. And then I saw a comment, someone saying, man, I hope you're not going woke. And it's that type of tribalism where it's like, oh, if you're trying to defend science in any way, shape, or form, I'm going woke now? No, I'm just trying to restore some sanity. I've said this a lot of times in some of my older videos that I'm just trying to contribute to restoring sanity to this world because so many people have gone off the rails. And right now, I feel like the conservatives are holding the ball right now. Not even feel, I know this. Like things have gotten way too far and out of control, way more than any of the progressive ideologues have gotten. And so I've made content about this. And the biggest difference between me and a lot of people that are making content, I think you can tell, or at least people that are on the outside looking in, they can tell who's trying to tell the truth and who's not. The people who are navigating, who have different takes, who the information that they're giving you is not consistent to your ideals because the truth is not biased, or at least it shouldn't be, right? So the truth is you don't know where it's gonna fall. You don't know exactly where it's gonna fall. And so when you try to give factual information about something, there's a possibility that you may not like what somebody's saying when it's real and it's the truth. You may not want to accept that truth, even when it's something negative, because you have a narrative in your head that this is what's happening and this is bad. And then someone tries to tell you to the contrary, actually, it's not as bad as you think. And then you want to plug your ears instead of listening and maybe asking the question, well, is that true? I appreciate the people who actually do that, but that's not largely most people. And how do I know this? Because when you see people that were left-leaning before and now just making conservative leaning videos and making millions of dollars, you see what is going on here. They're telling you what you want to hear. And I'm just not here for that. I'm here to just try to tell you what it's like, how it is, what's bothering me, and just trying to navigate in a truthful and integral way. That's it. And the truth doesn't make you money. You know, if you own a business, you know this. If you try to be honest, if you try to do things the right way, you're going to make way less money. Even when it comes to, like, say, waste management. You have people who cut corners and dump things places that they shouldn't dump them and destroy environments, but they profit way more. And then you have people who do it by the books and they make way less because it costs way more to go by the books and to do the proper regulations and the proper things you need to do for the EPA and all of that stuff. That's just one example, but it works the same way with YouTube. If you want to tell the truth and try to do things in an honest and integral way, you're not going to make that much money. Because you're just navigating through things. You're trying to be like, all right, very truthful, and then sometimes things are going to fall in different ways and it's not 100% consistent. So the best thing to do is to just follow one path, right? All right, I'm just going to continue on these sort of ideals. Now, I will say there are exceptions to the rule. Don't get me wrong. There are people that are killing it that are more, say, center left or center right or whatever, and they're trying to navigate through things, but they're also consistent. You know, I get burnt out. And especially I get burnt out of these people that say dumb shit like, oh, I always thought you were on the right or something. And to those people, I gotta ask you, what about me was it? Like, what exactly was it that it was conservative about me? I mean, you look at me, you see all the tattoos and you see the holes in my ears. Nothing conservative about that. Definitely had no conservative views about the military-industrial complex. Obviously, I'm non-religious. I believe in true freedom and true autonomy for women's bodies. I believe in people being protected. I think the government is here specifically for one job, and it's to protect its people. So that means giving them fucking healthcare, making sure they're not poor. I like all of these things. I've always advocated for this stuff. I don't have any like stagnated point of view like, oh, let's just do things because it's always been that way. Like, just, you know, conservatism in a nutshell to me is like, let's just do things because they've always been this way, and you don't even think about why. But that doesn't make any sense. Like, progressivism and progressing is the natural order of things. That's how we're supposed to do. As humans, we progress, we grow. We want to get better, we want to get healthier, we want to get stronger. And things, you don't want things to stay the same for that. So why would you want things to stay the same in other instances? Like, you have people that complain about, say, when cars became a thing, the people who were all about horses were mad. And right now, the people that are all about cars and driving them themselves are already bitter because they're seeing the news about automatic cars. Like, they are conservative type of people because they want things to always remain the same. Instead of accepting that things are going to get better with automated cars, hundreds of thousands of lives or tens of thousands of lives are going to be saved per year. But you see where I'm getting at. Essentially, I'm the same person with a few things changing here or there, but that's normal. A lot of people, they get information wrong and then they correct it and they're like, oh, I didn't know this. And that's largely it. I just want to put this out and I hope this clears things up. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Love you, and I'll see you very soon.